Welcome everybody to the School of Planning and to the University of Waterloo. As Ray mentioned, I'm Markus Moos. I'm an associate professor in the School of Planning here. This is meant to be obviously a workshop for you guys, but also a resource we want to create for the future. So we'll go through the contents of the package in a little bit, but one thing you'll see in there that you don't have to look at today is something labeled a teaching resource. And that's basically like a recipe for the workshop we're running today. Because you will have taken the workshop, you can consider yourselves kind of like School of Planning, Housing Affordability Ambassadors, right? And you are welcome to run this workshop even on your own. What does a planner do? Plan. What do they plan? Like, is a party planner a planner? Is that what we're educating here?
Urban planner.
Urban planner.
Events planner.
That's right, yeah. Do you think we educate events planner here? No. Do you think an urban planner would make a good an events planner?
No.
No? I was going to say maybe. Maybe. Yeah, so, in a big picture, planning is about land uses, how you connect those uses, and how you basically decide what goes where in a city. And so sometimes people are really motivated by architecture and say, well, you get to create these beautiful buildings. You'll find out very quickly it's not about control. A lot about planning is also about working with people, finding solutions to difficult kinds of questions about, should we build a road here, or should we build a light rail transit system, for instance? How do we decide, right? What are the economics behind different kinds of transportation decisions? Yeah, so there's lots of different fields coming together. And the grand price is $2.5 million. What do you think people are paying for then? If the house looks like you need to tear down the land, right? So somebody has asked about location, and that's one of the key things in determining the price. So what we want to do today for the rest of today is we're going to move into 3 stations where we're going to do the exercises. Often, people, when you think about designing your preferred neighborhood, they think about restaurants, they think about places they want to go to, and not necessarily some of these essential services. And part, that sort of take home too, is that planning is as much about planning for sort of the fun stuff as it is for sort of the essentials of a community.
So it's the same with the houses. The houses, the streets you live at, they have.
It kind of does actually. It's like
No, I've been to Toronto. There's a lot of different, but
subway.
one bar on this block. So what about office usage, like getting jobs? Do you want
It
to?
kind of does actually. It's like
No, I've been to Toronto.
We want to talk a bit more about now that we've thought a bit about what influences price, what makes housing affordable or not affordable? Finally, we're going to look at development finance, where we take a bit more of a perspective from a developer and say, well, how can we actually build something and then ensure that it is affordable for the kinds of people we want to build for, right? It's easy to build something expensive, but how would you take this piece of land worth $2.5 million and build something on there that is affordable for more of what we might call the average person? Designing affordable housing is
hard.
Hard. It's difficult, right? It's really difficult. And part of the reasons it's difficult is because there are regulations we have to meet. There's costs, like the land costs. There's construction costs. There's engineering constraints, which we didn't deal with today, but as a planner, you would also have to take those into account. There's environmental constraints, which we didn't really get into today as well, right? And there's, of course, the income constraint, which we did get into today. You could design as many units as you want. If the price isn't low enough, certain people are not going to be able to afford them. Development charges can be negotiated, right? So there are ways to negotiate with government to kind of deal with this regulatory part. And I think traditionally, some of these regulations actually had not been put in place with affordable housing in mind. And so even from a government side, there's actually a number of things we can do to make it easier for developers to actually build affordable housing. Being close to stuff, as you learned when you're doing your little string exercise, costs money, right? And so the more we want to live close to stuff, the more we're going to have to pay for that location. And so that inherently actually creates a difficult constraint or challenge of our times, is that how do we provide affordable housing in locations that are inherently desirable to lots of people, right? And so the demand pushes up those prices. So, you know, if there's some big message, is that I think if you're only going to remember one thing from this, it's affordable housing is very difficult to implement. But it's a must, right? We didn't get so much to the trends in affordable housing, but even just from the one table I provided, you could see that over time, more people are struggling to pay for housing. And so that's why, you know, people like me are trying to do a research agenda around how do you provide housing that is affordable, but can also make a profit for those who are building it, but at the same time is in locations that are getting more expensive.